Welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode is going to be a little different. This is episode 109. There is no guest. There is no specific lesson on pricing, cash flow, margins, labor, operations. Instead, I want to talk directly about the future of this show. So even after rebranding it, for those of you that have been listening a long time, we rebranded it earlier this year to really focus on turning around businesses, really digging into the numbers. But after a lot of thought, decided to put this podcast on an indefinite pause. So I want to be clear about the wording. I'm not saying the podcast is permanently over. I'm not saying there will never be another episode. I truly do enjoy the podcast, meeting new people, whether it's service providers that are helping the trades or owners in the trades. But for the foreseeable future, we are going to be winding it down and stepping away from producing new episodes consistently. And because this show has always been about making better business decisions, I want to explain the decisions in those same terms. So the same way I talk to my clients, the same way we talk on the show, this is not an emotional decision. It isn't because I ran out of things to say. It isn't because I suddenly stopped believing in the value of sharing practical, financial, operational advice for home service business owners. It's simply a business decision. The time, to be honest, the time and the effort required to put this podcast together, it just hasn't generated the measurable results that I would have liked to see come out of it. More specifically, it's just not generating the downloads, generating the leads that it needs based on the time that I'm putting into it. So we all have a finite amount of time, and as business owners want to make sure we are getting return on that time. And at some point, every business owner has to be willing to look honestly at where their time is going, where their money is going, what that time is producing, what that money is producing, and whether we continue to invest in something, does it still make sense? So that has to apply to me, just like all the business owners that I work with as their CFO. So when I started the podcast, the goal was never simply to say that I had a podcast. The goal was to create something useful, something valuable, sharing practical ideas with home service business owners who are dealing with financial and operational problems. They need help, they need guidance, they need a nugget here or there to get to the next step. And that, again, a lot of these problems, they all often don't get solved by simply selling more. We're not just going to do more revenue to solve these problems. That's really, one of our main focuses has always been, we got to look at all the things, the cash flow, the weak margins, the pricing, the labor, the overhead, financial clarity, working harder and making less. Those are real problems. And I truly believe this podcast could help owners think differently about them. And I do know it has helped plenty because there have been people that reached out saying, hey, thanks so much. I appreciate it. But I also, from a return on time standpoint, need to make sure I'm getting a return on this as well. Like I said, because there is a lot of time that goes into it. We do have a full-time office manager, Holly. She's great. She handles a lot of this stuff. But still just, putting on the podcast, doing the interviews, doing the research, rescheduling when people can't make it. There's just a lot that goes into it. So the business case behind the podcast is to, obviously create a bunch of useful, actionable content that really goes behind our mission, building trust, reaching owners who need this help, but then eventually turning some of that attention into qualified opportunities, people that either might interested in be working together or people that know somebody that might need help from a CFO. So the reality is that the podcast just did not produce the measurable results. Now I do know, not everything we do in marketing and branding is going to be measurable. I totally understand that. We have those conversations every single day with our clients. There's plenty of things we do in our business that we know moves the needle, even if we can't put a formula on it. But to be honest with this, downloads were up and down. People would reach out randomly, but there was no consistent predictability behind it. And with time being limited, we just needed to make this decision. It does not mean that nobody listened. It doesn't mean the episodes had no value. It doesn't mean the conversations were a waste. The conversations I had are invaluable, whether it's meeting up, tons of different partners that can help our clients, whether it's marketing, sales, branding, coaching, bookkeeping, all the other things that our clients need, or the direct conversations with business owners themselves. So I know that listeners have found specific episodes, specific content useful, and I am grateful for every person who listened, subscribed, shared, came on as a guest, or sent a message about the show. But it just didn't turn into the results that we were looking for. And we gave it a good run. 109 episodes. Most podcasts never make it past 10. Um, but it does take a lot of time. The planning, the scheduling, preparing, the research, developing topics, recording, and then even after I'm done recording, then it goes to Holly on her team who handles the rest, the show notes, getting on the website, reaching out to guests, doing all the things. And when we looked at the amount of time we're putting into it versus the return, it just didn't make sense anymore. So this is the same conversation I have with business owners all the time, and that's why I'm going to be transparent with everybody. A company can become attached to an initiative simply because it has invested time into it. Maybe it's a marketing channel, a service line, a location, somebody on the team, a position on the team, a piece of software that we're just holding on to, a meeting that we keep having just because it's always on the schedule. And the owner keeps it alive because of the time, money, or reputation already attached to it. And I say it all the time in our content. Progress is really never made until we have difficult conversations or make difficult decisions. Because a lot of times we think, well, we've put so much into this. We just need to give it more time. We've always done it this way. Maybe it'll start to change. And I 100% agree that we got to give it enough time and enough energy to make sure we have definitive, measurable results to see if we should continue. And at this point, it's been over 2 years. So we're going to start going in a different direction. I don't want to be stuck in the sunk cost trap like I see way too many business owners, because we think, well, we've already put this much into it, we might as well keep going. When in reality, a lot of times the best decision is just stop putting money into it and call it a day. So every business has limited resources. Focus requires saying no. Money is limited, people is limited, time is limited, attention is limited, and the owner's time may be the most limited resource of all. So, focus is really being willing, like I said at the beginning, focus requires saying no. We got to be willing to stop doing things that matter less in order to focus on things that matter more. And often that's the hard part. It's easy to add another initiative, do another thing, put more on the plate, but it's a lot harder to stop doing things because we might hurt somebody's feelings. So now you might be asking, where's my time going instead? Again, I want to keep this short, so we're going to be wrapping this up here in the next couple of minutes, but where's my time going instead? The time that has been going into the podcast will be redirected really mainly into serving our existing clients. That means going deeper into the work that is already producing meaningful results for them, helping owners improve margins, strengthening cash flow, making better pricing decisions, creating financial visibility, clarity, all the things that we do as an outsourced CFO. So, that's really priority number one, is making sure we have enough bandwidth to serve them well, serve them better than anybody else. And then that way, we can then focus on the secondary, which is continuing to develop more partnerships. Strong partnerships to me create an opportunity to reach the right owners through relationships, but it also allows me to serve our existing clients better. So the way we work as fractional CFOs is once we determine an issue within a business, the numbers are going to tell us what the issue is, and then we got to solve it. And in order to solve it, sometimes we need an expert, whether it's, hey, we need to look at a new bookkeeper, or we need to look at a marketing company, or we need a sales coach, or we might need to look at somebody that provides inventory support or somebody that provides service titan support. I don't do any of that. I stay in my CFO lane. And when I have more time to focus on those relationships, when our clients do need somebody, I can then confidently point them in the direction of somebody to know that, hey, they're going to get taken care of. They're going to solve this problem. So that way we can continue moving forward. So that's really where I'm spending most of my time is one, serving our existing clients better. I've got room for a couple more clients. So I really want to make sure that once we bring those clients on, that we serve them well. And then two, developing partnerships from a referral standpoint. So that way, when our clients need something, I know who to send them to. And when their clients need something, from a CFO standpoint, they can send them our way. So again, this is an indefinite pause. I want to emphasize that it is not necessarily a permanent ending. There may be a reason to return to the podcast at some point. There may be an occasional episode where there is something important worth discussing. The format could change, the name could change, the frequency could change, the business case could change. A lot of things could change, but I'm not going to keep producing episodes simply to maintain a schedule. simply to say, hey, we put out an episode every week for X amount of years. For me right now, it's just not worth the time. So if it does return, it should return because there is a clear purpose and goal behind it, and then we're able to achieve that goal. So thank you to everyone who has listened to the podcast. I really appreciate it. And most importantly, thank you to all the guests who took time to come on the show, be vulnerable, share their experiences, and really help support you guys out there as the listeners. So to the listeners who subscribed, send feedback, shared an episode, or applied something that you heard on the show, thank you, thank you, thank you. Your support has mattered. It is always nice when you randomly get a message on Facebook or LinkedIn or an email saying, hey, really appreciate the show. Love this episode, da 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 da. I'm glad all the conversations happened. I'm glad I did the podcast. The episodes are still going to be available. But for now, even though the podcast is going on a pause, we are still going to be here. I'm not disappearing. I want to make it easier for my listeners, for anybody out there to reach me directly. If you have a question, just reach out. I'm not going to try and sell anything. My goal, same thing with the podcast, is help you solve the current problem that you are working through. So send me an email, paul@thebluecollaradvisors.com. Ask me a question about pricing, cash flow, operations, margin, labor, overhead. I know what you're going through. I've been there. I've owned, I've operated in the space. And now being a CFO for the last 2.5 years, really see the inner workings of so many businesses that I probably have the experience that will help you solve the next problem you're working on. And if I don't have it, there's a good chance that I know somebody that does. So just simply reach out, paul@thebluecollaradvisors.com. And lastly, want to close with this. Business owners need to be willing to measure the return on their time just as seriously as they measure the return on their money. Your calendar is an investment portfolio. It is the most valuable thing because you can't get more of it. Every commitment you make, whether it's wasting time on social media or working on your business, you have a limited resource that you are allocating towards that. Some activities produce financial returns, some deepen important relationships, some improve the company, some create personal meaning, and then some continue primarily because nobody has made the decision to stop them. I talk to so many people and it's like, well, why do you keep doing that? I'm like, I don't know, because we've always done it. And that's a terrible answer. The podcast has been valuable in so many ways, but it has not produced the measurable business results necessary to me to justify the time to continue putting into it. So we're putting it on a pause. We're spending that time on clients, partnerships, and working on our business. But remember, if you have a question about anything in your business, financially, operationally, send me an email directly, paul@thebluecollaradvisors.com. I'll try to reply within 24 hours. Happy to answer it and not sell you anything. So that's all I got. Thank you so much. And we'll chat with you guys soon.